Can you please comment on Israel domestic affairs and the role of Benjamin Netanyahu in handling this crisis? What Canadians should expect in coming few months?
Well, I mean, Israeli domestic affairs are a lot more complicated than ours. It's not the same system, right? It's a proportional representation system where, the party with the most votes gets the first opportunity to form a coalition into government. So you have many different parties sort of stitched together in Israel. Now, they do have a unity government now during the war. So Benjamin Netanyahu's not going anywhere until the war is done. All the anti-Netanyahu people in the West who often very rarely know what they're talking about. Netanyahu's not going anywhere until the war is done. And the protests you're seeing in Israel, it is being spun by radical leftists and people with special interests as anti-war protests. But most of the people protesting Benjamin Netanyahu, or at least half of them, are protesting the soft stance of the Israeli government. They want the Benjamin Netanyahu to outright commit to full victory in Gaza. I mean, there was a protest last week where a bunch of reservists off duty, so people who've been fighting in Gaza, fighting in Lebanon, fighting in the West Bank, instead of going home to their families, they went outside the Prime Minister's office and they were asking Benjamin Netanyahu to make sure that they were allowed to fight until the war is finished, like fight to victory. So, when people see, protests of government policy in Israel, yeah, sometimes it's lefties saying, we should hug the terrorism away, or the ridiculousness with the Supreme Court going on in Israel. But a lot of the, people protesting Netanyahu or on the streets in Israel are sort of protesting, the enforcement of the Biden administration's nonsense on Israel and, trying to pressure the government. What Israeli society is essentially saying is, there's been a massive shift, like 44% shift to the right in Israel. Like the delusions of the left in Israel have been shattered. And what a lot of the people in the streets of Israel are kind of saying is, listen, if you capitulate to the Americans' demands for a Palestinian state run by a terrorist organization, or two of them right now, you're done. You're done. We're going to find someone else to do that. So what you're seeing from the outside is, remember, there is pressure for Netanyahu to be more hawkish as well as maybe less hawkish. And yes, maybe there are some families of victims and hostages who want negotiations right now. I want a ceasefire to negotiate more hostage releases. That is a political position that is in Israel, but there is a large political position of the way we get them out is kill their captors and then rescue them because Hamas can't be trusted. So that's what you're seeing inside Israel domestically. And do I think this has implications for Canadians? Not really. I don't think, again, because Canadian media isn't going to properly frame what's going on in Israel in any way that is, meaningful. One of our key flaws in the West, I mean, everyone does this, so it's not just a Western thing, but we tend to take, other parts of the world or other cultures and whatever, and in order to explain them to our society, we reframe them as Canadian, mostly American, right? We try to frame everything in sort of an American context and how Netanyahu is doing in American context, but the Israeli context doesn't map onto the American one, just as like, Eastern Europe, Russia, like Ukraine and America are different. Like there's a different society there. There's a different society in Iraq to all these. To draw parallels between them, I don't see it being done in a productive way, considering our current mass media structure.